Have you ever sat through a movie and thought, why didn't they make X the main character? Where X is usually the sidekick of the film. Okay, we kinda sounded like a math equation there, but don't worry. This video isn't about algebra. What it's actually about is a list of secondary characters who stole the show from the lead. We'll also be talking about some of the most memorable ones. First up at number 5, McLovin from Superbad. Wait, when we said sidekicks, you didn't think of someone like a superhero's sidekick, right? No, these secondary characters can be anyone who's not the lead in a film. Take Fogel from the 2007 classic Superbad, for example, most famously known as McLovin. He was the funniest out of the trio and made every scene of his worthwhile. We're not saying anything super bad about Jonah Hill or Michael Cera, because those two are comedic geniuses of their own, but Christopher Mintz-Plasse nailed this role and the movie wouldn't have been the same without him. In fact, he's the reason most of us had second thoughts about getting fake IDs, because what if we ended up getting cards that turned us into 27-year-old Hawaiians? Up next at number 4, Shrek's best friend. The fairy tale with a twist is one of the most popular movies DreamWorks has ever released. But imagine this animated franchise without Shrek's partner in crime. Eddie Murphy, being the hilarious icon he is, gives so much personality to this four-legged animal that at times you find the plot itself boring and look forward to scenes with Donkey alone. The funniest part is that the land of Far, Far Away has all sorts of mythical creatures from fairy tales. The main character is a talking ogre. He falls in love with someone who transforms into an ogre. The team befriends a cat with Zorro-like tendencies, while Donkey is just a donkey. Things took an even wilder turn when he had kids with a dragon that tried to kill them in the first film. But wait, okay, no, we're absolutely not discussing that. Moving on. Coming up with yet another animated friend at number 3. Aladdin has been a part of many of our childhoods, and it looks like Disney's keeping the tradition alive after giving it a live-action remake. But Agrabah isn't famous for its catchy music, friendly tigers, or magic flying carpets. What made the animated films and the live-action ones is that floating blue thing that made everything insanely funnier. Genie, since they couldn't come up with a more creative name, was the shape-shifting, grant-wishing best friend that we all wanted more than anything. He's the reason a lot of us fell in love with the late Robin Williams' work. His cartoonish voice was absolutely perfect to steal the spotlight from the titular character. They should have renamed the film Genie, because let's be honest, who's the one character you think of when you hear the word Aladdin? Exactly. People would rather think about Genie since he stole the show in every movie they made. Moving on to the dynamic duo at number 2. Okay, it's time to talk about that one hero you think of after hearing the word sidekick. Yes, we're talking about none other than the boy wonder, Robin. Now, there isn't a specific movie where he outshines his mentor because, well, there are only 2 of those to talk about. The thing is, this character steals the spotlight whenever he's part of the story, be it comics, live action, shows, or movies. Everyone's attention is on that green and yellow cape, and as goofy as his costume is in the comics, somehow they've all made it work in live action. That suit and Titans worn by Brenton Thwaites and Curran Walters is just beyond any fan's expectations. If Zack Snyder had the opportunity to introduce Robin in his franchise, people wouldn't even care for Ben Affleck. Chris O'Donnell is the only somewhat modern actor to put on the eye mask and cape. That is, if you don't consider Joseph Gordon-Levitt in The Dark Knight Rises. But let's be real here. That Easter egg, or whatever you want to call it, was very lazy. But we're not here to argue about which Robin is best. What we all agree is that he makes Batman, the most iconic DC character ever, look boring in his own stories. Forget the world's greatest detective. We're here for Boy Wonder. Last but not least, the best sidekick at number 1. Being a sidekick has been a huge problem for this crime-fighting vigilante. The Green Hornet has been a movie, a TV series, another movie, and of course, the source material for all this, a comic. We'll be talking about the 2011 blockbuster with Seth Rogen and Jay Chou, which didn't really receive the best of reviews. Kato, played by Chou, is Britt Reed's hired chauffeur, gardener, and basically someone who does everything around the house. When we talk about sidekicks who steal the show, Kato is both iconic and hilarious in his own way, because he's always the one who has to save Britt from the messes he causes himself. Although the Green Hornet is the title of Britt, his driver's the one who does all the work from the driving to fighting bad guys. This character was a little tough to put on our list because we didn't know whether to include him in this one or the one we're going to be talking about right now. Now, for some of the most memorable sidekicks ever, starting off with Spock at number 5. If you've never seen a single Star Trek film, you'd be surprised to find out that one character with pointy ears and a terrible haircut is not the main protagonist of the franchise. Yes, he's actually a sidekick. Actors like Leonard Nimoy and Zachary Quinto made each iteration of the character better than the last. Almost everyone can easily identify Spock with those eyebrows and hand signs, but if we were to name anyone else from the franchise, well, it'd be as hard as naming a character from Game of Thrones. Following up with another character from space at number 4. Talking about Star Trek without mentioning Star Wars is probably blasphemous to some geeks out there, so we'll give you the best of both worlds. Is Luke Skywalker the most popular and iconic character in the franchise? We don't think so. Obviously, the fan favorite is Darth Vader, but he's a villain rather than a sidekick, so we're interested in some other memorable characters. Han Solo, Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO are a team of helping hands that are just way more likable than the main lead. We'd mention Yoda, but the mentor he is of Luke. The mini Shrek is an icon of his own, no doubt, but when you've got the best pilot in the galaxy, a tall furry alien with a famous screech, and two of the most lovable robots out there, the word sidekick has a whole other meaning. Harrison Ford will always be known as captain of the Millennium Falcon, and since we've mentioned Shrek a little too much in this video, here's something to break your minds. Ever notice that Han and the ogre have the same outfit? Do what you may with this information. Enjoy. Let's talk about the Lord of the Rings trilogy at number 3. Frodo Baggins wasn't alone when he embarked on his treacherous journey to Mordor. He was accompanied by his gardener and widely adored friend, Samwise Gamgee. If you were to name the perfect sidekick, it'd have to be Sam, because the Hobbit has all the traits a protagonist needs in a partner: loyalty, trustworthiness, bravery, determination, and helpfulness. When things would go south, it was always Gamgee to sort things out, especially when the two were manipulated by Gollum. And if you saw the extremely long director's cut of The Return of the King, you probably shed a tear or two in the final moment of the two's adventure.
I can't recall the taste of food. Not the sound of water.
Coming up with the brightest wizard in Hogwarts at number 2. The wizarding world would be in ruins if it wasn't for the intellect and mind of Hermione Granger. Harry Potter's quest to defeat Voldemort would have been cut very short without the member of the trio, because of how many situations they got out of with her help. And who can forget her famous moments and quotes from the franchise? A lot of us spent quite some time yelling, "It's Leviosa, not Leviosa." Hermione was the star of the franchise and one of the best mudblood, wizards out there.
You're going to take someone's eye out. Besides, you're saying it wrong. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
You do it then if you're so clever.
Go on, go on.
Lastly, Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story at number 1. Okay, we didn't have a clever way to title the last addition to the list, but if we wanted a memorable sidekick, it'd be the one to Woody the Cowboy. Like the levitating spell Hermione corrected, "to infinity and beyond" is a phrase that got embedded in our brains really from the first movie. As for the next 2 sequels to the animated trilogy, Buzz was just too funny to not give the first spot. And if you disagree that he's number 1, how about you name the movie they made for Woody, huh? That's right, you can't. But what you can name are other sidekicks you adore in movies and TV shows. Let us know some of the ones we might have missed in this video. Leave a like and hit that subscribe button to see more of our content, and we'll see you in the next one.